yourself another one, Laura. Another podcast episode with other people. I'm very excited about this.
Yay!
And so a couple weeks ago, we got to have one of our friends, Miss Limpert, on with us, and that was super cool, and we really enjoyed it. And then last week, we got to talk with another special education teacher who's been in this game for a very long time and
Wrote a book.
taught Xander.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Todd Xander.
So we're very excited about that. So this week, we have not just one, but two guests. And they are coming to talk with us about this thing. I'm going to say it's going to be about ABA, but I think there's a lot of things that are going to fall underneath it. And so one of the things that we're going to have to do after I introduce you is we're going to have to probably explain what all the acronyms are. The A, B, and the A, and the B, C, and the BA, and the all of that stuff. But tonight, this evening, this episode, that's where I'm going to, this episode, we have Rebecca and David Johnson. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay, good, because names are horrible. True story. So check this out. I was doing a wedding, and luckily it was a very, very small one. And we're standing there, and so I use the same wedding script every wedding, right? I mean, why wouldn't the world would we try to reinvent the wheel? So I get up there and I start reading through the script, and I called the guy the wrong name. Yeah. I was like, oh, your name's not Tom. And so now that's kind of the thing. So even with stuff right in front of me, I still mess up names. So we have David and we have Rebecca with us, and they are, correct me if I get this wrong. You know what? You just tell me and everybody else that's listening, which is pretty much my mom, I think, that you tell them what it is that you do and what the little letters around your name mean.
Okay. We are both BCBAs, and that is a Board Certified Behavior Analysts. What that means is we both got our masters and then took a certification exam to show that we are qualified to have opinions sometimes about behavior.
Sometimes I like that.
This actually is my 11th, this month is my 11th year of being a BCBA. I've been in the field of ABA for about 13 years. And this is a year and a half? 2 years.
A year and a half as a BCBA. I've been in the field since 2016. So ABA is Applied Behavioral Analysis. And what we do is basically find what is socially significant for individuals with autism, more specifically, but it can be used in many different ways. Organizational behavior management, OBM, is something that is used probably more commonly known to help, where to put stuff on the shelves, how to stock the shelves so people can get what they need, the way to design the supermarket, or one of our favorite places to go, Chick-fil-A, the way they have the double drive-through, right? Those are all things that
how to be more efficient.
The efficiency of a business.
But we work with people, we work with kids, primarily diagnosed with autism, but that's really just because that's the only diagnosis insurance will pay for and cover the therapy. But we do consult in the schools. We, have experience in different settings. ABA is all around us. The annoying seatbelt, beeping to put on your seatbelt, taking medication when you have a headache. Those are all principles of ABA at work.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, it is, in what ways can we help equip, in this case, a child to better function in the world around them? Right. And I think there's a lot to be said for approaches like that. Because I know that, for instance, me growing up, it was very common to be told this is just how you do things, so you do it, whether you're good at it or not, right? Yeah. This is how it is. This is how the school setting is. This is how, and you just got to make that happen. And I think something that we've learned, Laura and I both, in the time that we've been in special education, is that that's not the best way to approach it.
Shocking.
Like it doesn't quite work that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I go into every assessment, and when I train people, and like my ultimate goal is how can we improve the quality of life for this individual and their families, because it's bigger than just them. And also, what skills can we teach them so that they can be as independent as possible? And that looks different for every individual. What means what Johnny's independent potential is going to be different than Jenny's independent potential, and that's determined by collaboration and figuring out what skills do we have now and where do you want them to go, and what is your plan for your child, and what is your plan, your 5-year plan, where do you want, what are your biggest struggles now, when they're older, what's the plan? Are they gonna live independently? Are they gonna figuring out? And that's hard as parents to kind of figure that out. But unfortunately, I think that's a big part of, especially having students with special needs, is something you do have to think about. What's the next step? What's the long-term goal? And kind of figuring out what that looks like so we know how to target right now so we can plan for that.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense there. You're talking about, having different plans. So like, what is a behavior management plan that you describe a successful one that you have made and that implemented in the school setting? And also, how can you take that and put it in the home setting? Because you guys you have different settings that you work in. So maybe first answer that. What are the different settings that you serve children and family, and then talk about a plan you implemented and how you go from those settings.
So settings, me personally that I've worked in, other than the clinical setting, out in the community with multiple individuals, in home, in school. Also, there was a few clients that, I've attended, dentist appointments, or even something as simple as a haircut. We did that, which I thought was, probably one of the coolest things. Something that, most people would really take for granted, being able to get a haircut.
Right.
This family struggled for a long time. So the settings that, we have gone into is, just about any setting that the child will, enter in their own life or in the life of their family. So, and each setting is different. In our clinical setting, obviously, we have control of the environment. We have control of, the outside variables. We can set up the rooms in, the situations in the way that we need to. But it's not always like that. So in the classroom setting, some of the different behavior management strategies that have been used, first and foremost, we try to find positive reinforcement that's going to motivate to get the specific correct behaviors that we're looking for. One small downfall is typically sometimes we don't have the appropriate skill set that we need to reach the function of that behavior. So, for example, if, we're engaging in, a disruptive behavior, a scream or something, that could be to get attention, right? Or to get out of doing something, for example. And if we know we scream, everybody looks at us, that's very quick to us to teach us how to gain that attention that we're looking for.
In an inappropriate way.
In an inappropriate way, because whether it's, the positive social attention, great job, high fives, stuff like that, even a reprimand is attention, right? So that is also going to feed those attention seeking behaviors. So one thing we have to do first is find a replacement skill for that. So, if Johnny, for example, needs someone's attention, whether it's, using their words, excuse me, I need your help, or raising a hand in classroom, or tap, hey, we need to teach those quickly and reinforce that replacement behavior as heavily as possible. So that's where we go to first versus something that has already been reinforced for a time frame, the screaming. And if we can get that, we're on a moving track. So with that, we have different reinforcement systems, typically in the classroom. One that is easy to implement across the classroom in different settings is token economy. Which I think most teachers are very familiar with. So it's not having to teach them a different skill set. It's teaching them a skill set that they already have and how to specifically implement it. A couple different, varieties of it in the classroom. We've done individual, token boards for each kid. at their desk, whether it's, 4 or 5 kids. I've been in a classroom. We did like a big wall chart. Each kid has their name. And, as the teacher was teaching or the parents were teaching, or they were each student was engaging in the appropriate behavior that we were looking to gain, whether it was a hand raise or keeping their hands to themselves, oh, hey, awesome job, and giving them that shout out and giving them that check mark or that sticker, not just for them.
Ooh, I like that.
Not just for them to see, but for everybody else in the class to see.
There's a lot of research there's a lot of research, side questy, about public praise, right? Public posting. And one, that's effective because one, it's like, oh, well, they got praise, I want that too. So let me do the right thing. You can individualize it. Maybe David needs to work on having nice hands and, his hands down, but I need to work on not interrupting and raising my hand, right? So you can individualize it, but it's visual. And so it's that visual reminder. My name is up there. If why is my name up there? Oh, right. I need to raise my hand to get some attention. So, and there's a lot of research to show the effectiveness of public, posting. So sorry, continue.
No, you're fine. And then typically, each individual has something that they're working for, right? Earn your 5 check marks, you get, your ball or your car, or to read your story, or to just go sit in a rocking chair, something that, is reinforcing that terminal reinforcer for them, which, when we're using the token economy, we want to gain prior to. And it may change while we work through and get our check marks and get our tokens. But, if we don't know what we're working for from the start, it makes it really hard to be motivating. And then the simple way we've transitioned that into a house, I worked with this family, and they did the same thing, and they put everybody's name in the family on the fridge in the same kind of diagram. And although it was just for the daughter, mom's name was up there, dad's name was up there, brother's name was up there. So anytime anybody engaged in those appropriate behaviors, doing their chores, picking up their stuff, putting their backpack away where it goes, finishing their homework, these simple things,
brushing their teeth,
not yelling at their sibling, using kind language, they would get their check marks and, their 5 check marks or their 10 check marks. And, we get whatever it was at the time, time on a tablet, our ice cream treat. So those are those positive reinforcement ways to do that. Unfortunately, though, I think sometimes we get past that and, we engage in some challenging behaviors, and we need to find, appropriate ways to manage those in the classroom. So, it's important to find the function of those and meet that as quickly as possible. And that's where teaching that replacement behavior kind of comes into place.
Mm-hmm. So these positive charts, and Rebecca, you said they've done a lot of research on that. And so I'm assuming by you saying that they found that the positive public charts are more effective than the let's say the old school like stoplight, and where you're bumping them down for the negative behavior. Would it be a good assumption?
Yeah. Like, oh, you lost recess. Oh, you're on red. Oh, the up and down the color charts. I think that, right. It goes back to finding the function of the behavior, and that the function of my behavior is attention, whether you move me to red or you move me to blue, or, wherever in between, or I lost recess. I bothered you. I took time out of your teaching to tell me something. So I got attention. Right. And so I'm going to continue to do that, because a lot of times, and as parents, we do it, and clinicians, we do it, and as teachers, we do it. We miss a lot of the catch you being good. Right. It's a lot of, I see you at your seat. I see you yelling. I see you. Right. The school has, PBIS, and they use Class Dojo a lot. That's a token economy. And I think that can be implemented really well. And it can be implemented not effectively if we only catch that you're talking in the hall, you lost a dojo. But we didn't catch the other 50 times I was walking in the hall quietly. Right. So I think that it's definitely important to identify, making it clear, what is it that, what are we working on? What are we trying to do? Make that clear to everyone involved, and like, okay, that's what we're going to provide attention for. That's what we're going to give tokens for. That's what, that's what we're going to acknowledge and bring attention to, or provide reinforcement too is the desired behavior, saying what we want you to do, not, hey, get off the table. It's like feet on the floor. Don't
Right.
stand on your chair. It's bottom in your chair. You know what I mean? Like telling me what I am supposed to do, especially
Right.
when we interact with kids who have communication deficits, right? And so if I say, don't stand on the chair, all I heard was stand, chair, right? Like if I have communication deficit, that's a lot of words that, the message isn't clear. And so it's really important to be clear in what our expectations are. So I'm going to tell you what to do. Hey, let's have safe hands. That's a quick and easy way. I'm a big fan of like, hey, fold your hands. If you're doing this, you can't hit me, you can't pinch me, right? And it's a quick, and we can do this in the store, and we can do it at home, and we can do it in the playground, and we can do it in the lunchroom.
We can do it in the car.
We can do it in the car. So I'm a big fan of, hey, fold your hands. That instead of don't hit, no, we don't pinch, no, we do, because I'm doing it. Like
oh yeah, let me show you.
Actually, I am.
Yes,
I'm
I
doing
do.
it. And I know a lot of times you want to be like, don't hit. And I understand the desire to do that, but it's
right.
Hey, fold your hands. Because if your hands are like this, it's really hard to, pinch and do some of those. And also you're telling me what to do. And it's to the point. Fold your hands, safe hands, whatever language, we want to use. But pointing out the what to do and reinforcing that desired behavior goes a lot further.
And do you see benefits to, you talked about this strategy, using the same strategy and same language at school and at home?
Yeah, so I think that's obviously generalization is really important in what we do. Working across different settings, different environment, different people implementing the different things. We would love for it to be generalized in a way that anybody can say kind of anything semi-related to it, and they understand. Unfortunately, it doesn't react that quickly. Typically, when we teach replacement behaviors, or even that simple fold your hands or calm hands, it is the same immediately, just to get that response. That way, calm hands, great, thanks for coming, calm hands, great, and reinforce that calm hands. So that would be the SD that we would teach everybody to use, and it would be really important to use that, because that in our setting in the clinic, that's what we have used to implement that. This is the behavior, the desired behavior we're looking for. Even something as simple as having a kid take a break. Some of the kids, depending on their communication skills, hey bud, you look frustrated, let's take a break, right? Which is fine if we have that communication skills, but if we have the receptive and expressive deficits, we need to find a way to quickly do that. Hey bud, take a break, or a sign, break,
or a picture of what I think you said, blue mat or blue area you said earlier, right? Like whatever that is, like, I think the communication is super important. It's important across all settings. And so generalization in the sense of, we have the skill here, it's great if in my four walls we can get this behavior under control, but that's not that kid's reality, right? They're going to go into the store, they're going to go into the school, they're going to go at home, and we need to be able to generalize that skill across all of those settings. And like David said, it's ideally we can kind of we try to teach different language so that they respond the same way, and it doesn't have to be in our experience, kids with autism are, we like routines, we like sameness, but we also have to teach flexibility and making things predictable. And so the model, if I model it and I say safe hands, and I model it and I say calm hands, and I model it and I say fold your hands, right? I'm using different language so that anybody might say something different, but they all mean this. So that's a way that's another form of generalization, is that I'm using different instructions, but the behavior is going to be the same, because it's really important to teach that flexibility, right? It's really important that we don't have to say the same thing the exact same way in all environments to get that behavior. That's not functional for that individual. And so it's important that when we're teaching kids, either in the clinic or in the school setting, that we're embedding generalization into that and saying it different ways with the same model. And, yeah, period.
You've talked a lot about, you're saying, kids and students and whatnot. Is there an age cap or your age range? Like what youngest, oldest of individuals you serve?
I've served individuals. The oldest individual I've personally worked with, I believe he was 24. And, with this individual, we worked, very, our communication skills were great. Some things in the world we didn't understand because it wasn't, routine and regimented. Right. So some of the things we worked on is he had a big desire to get his GED. And then get a job. And he wanted to work at Taco Bell, which I love because, I support the Baja Blast.
Oh, absolutely.
So, the different things we worked on is one, figuring out, okay, what are the steps that we need to do to be able to take that test? Okay. Right. So we figured that out. I said, and then, we sat down, okay, what is going to be on that test and what do we need to be ready for?
Oops. I think we froze. They froze.
And as far as he got, sorry. Hi.
Hey, we're
So
back.
we figured out all the steps, right? And we got it scheduled, and he figured out how to get there. And he didn't drive, so it was like, okay, well, if your parents can't take you, what are other ways we can get there? He's like, okay, we can call an Uber. I didn't really follow up on how he got there, but he got there, he took it, he passed the test. And as far as I know, he landed that job at Taco Bell because we worked on job applications and interviews and stuff like that.
We don't in the clinic, I've primarily in the clinic setting and in the school setting, we don't really have an age limit. It's as soon as kids can get diagnosed, again, because insurance only pays for a diagnosis. And as far as an age cap, we primarily work with children, but also ABA can be effective in any realm of life, abilities. But it's really what's appropriate and what's functional. If I have a bunch of 2-year-olds in the building and I have an 18-year-old who needs services to work on job applications, that's not really functional or appropriate setting for that individual. And so am I going to be able to serve his needs? Probably not in that setting, because right now our building is filled with, early intervention age. So it's kind of looking at that as far as ABA and what as a BCBA limits, there aren't really any. Our ethical code dictates we work within our scope of like what we know and what we have experience with in practice can do effectively and ethically, but also from a clinic standpoint, taking that into consideration. Can I meet your needs? Right? Is this an appropriate setting for you to be around at 24 to be around 2-year-olds? Probably not. And so taking that into account. Or flip side, right? If I have a bunch of 18-year-olds, right? Teenagers, is it appropriate to then have a 3-year-old come and, so it's just taking that into account and if we can meet your needs. And that's, on an individual clinic basis. But as a field, there isn't really a limit. We currently in our company where we work serve, I think our youngest is 2. And the oldest we currently have is 16. And so
She's 17.
my baby cannot be 17. Anyway, so but we worked out the schedule, so we have age like peers at certain, because that's the skill we're working on with that individual. We have different individuals. We have a 14-year-old who has very minimal communication and some self-injurious behavior and limited functional skills. And so he comes to see us in the afternoons, and we work on those skills with him, so it's about making sure that we have the right supports in place and that we can meet those needs in the right age group. If we're working on social skills and I have no peers, I'm doing that student, that client a disservice. So
if we come into contact with parents who maybe feel like they're at their end, they don't know what else to do. Little Jimmy, little Jill is middle school, high school, and it's not too late, right? We should have the parents can reach out and we'll get them in the right direction.
Yeah, it's never too late. I think, the biggest tips and the quickest is, one, we try to identify the function of whatever behavior is happening. If it's inappropriate behavior, why is this happening? All behavior is communication. ABA focuses on four main functions, four main reasons why behaviors occur, and kind of categorize them accordingly. And then when we try to identify, okay, why is it occurring? What's a more appropriate way to meet that need? Right. So like we were talking about earlier, yelling, right? So yelling is not necessarily appropriate. Okay, what's a more appropriate way to meet that need? And so that's how we work on replacement behaviors. It has to meet that same need. We have a kid who engages in a lot of vocal stereotypy. And so they're like, in a classroom setting, you can imagine this is really disruptive and it's pretty consistent and constant. And so we try to do a component analysis. Okay, why are we doing this? Is it the sound? Is it the vocals? Do we need headphones? Can we try music? Is it the sensation? Do we need to simulate that in some way? Right? Like recreate that vibration. Right. And so trying to identify, like really nitpick, what is it that is reinforcing and maintaining this behavior? And so obviously that's a case by case situation, but overall there are, why are we doing this and how can we do this more appropriately? And then creating contingencies. And what I mean by that is when A happens, B happens every time, and making sure that those are clear, they're concise, and it's consistent, right? If I say we do our homework and then we get ice cream, and then you do your homework 3 days in a row, and I'm like, oh, I forgot. You're going to stop doing your homework, or you're going to, stop believing what I say. And, obviously that's an exaggerated example, but it's the contingency. When A happens, B happens every time. And it's clear how to do that. It's not, sometimes and once in a while. And, if we say a contingency, then that's what's going to happen. If I hear a lot like, hey, if this happens, I'm going to call mom. Well, you're either going to call mom or you're not. We're not going to do this empty threat thing, right? Like if I'm doing this, you're calling mom. Okay, I'm doing this. We call mom. Or if I'm doing this, I get XYZ. Okay, then I get it. Right. And so making sure that what we say, we mean, and that it's clear and it's to the point and it's consistent, that it happens every time. So
I think like my favorite two words in this entire conversation has been replacement behavior, because I don't think we naturally consider the why behind, right? We just want to tell kids and even adults that we work with, no, you just do because I said do, or that's just how we do it, or, a number of different reasons why. But asking the question why is it that, this child is acting this way? And I understand the, desire to extinguish certain behaviors and all that. But what you're talking about is you're talking about working with the person and not with a set of rules. You're talking about finding what is it that is going to help this child to be the best thing. One of my favorite professional learnings that we sat in was when we went and we listened to Rebecca, and she says, I'm gonna share your secret. She says, listen, I want to change the world. And the truth is that we have an opportunity to do that, and we don't do it by trying to get people to fit our rules. We do it by serving each other and learning each other. And so I just want you to know that Laura and I both, we respect and applaud what you guys do, and just keep doing it. I got to say, there was a time where I was like, ABA, what is that? That's just some of that hippie stuff, right?
Yeah.
But then to get to know people that have done the research, that are in the field, that are working with the kids, and to hear your heart and to see what you're saying in action has been fantastic. And I'm definitely a believer. So
definitely.
Yeah. The same ABA, just like anything, there's pros and cons, and there's people on both sides of it, and adults who have had ABA and, are speaking out against it, and being in the field, it hurts a little bit, but it's definitely understandable. It's the same, you have a bad doctor, you have a bad teacher, you have a bad ABA therapist. And, I understand it can be done badly. We are working with a vulnerable population, you guys in the setting and us. And a lot of times our kids don't have the words to say, and so that's always our first goal, is how can we get this kid words, whether that's with picture communication, with signs, with actual vocals, like how can we get this kid to express themselves however quickest and easiest for them. And and that's, I love to hear that you guys are fans because, we care so much. We spend, I'm sure as you guys do, pillow talk is like, what did you think about this today? How can we do this better? And, oh, this happened today. And how can we help him? And it's not about checking boxes. I'm not here trying to be like, oh, he hit, we can't do that. How are we going to fix it? I'm not trying to fix it. How can I better meet your needs? Like, what is it that you're trying to communicate? And obviously our kids engage in inappropriate behavior and think it's hilarious and, and they sometimes know, and, do it on purpose and, and that's, understandable, but it's okay. How can we meet these kids where they are, and how can we meet their needs, and how can we help them navigate their world,
Right. And so like you said, when we were growing up, it's just like, this is what it is. You go to school, you sit in class, you do your math. Part of what we do is figuring out these individuals, but also teaching these individuals to navigate a world that's not going to change for them.
Right.
So
Yes.
we have, the world is not going to change for them. That's unfortunate. But I think at least now, in this day and age, we have a lot more understanding. There's a lot more understanding of, autism and some other, deficits and what those things need. And, if we can at least show, our learners or our classroom kids or even the teachers how to bend this world that we're in to fit what they need, but also teach them the skill sets to be successful outside of those settings or in other settings. That's more important than anything. Collaborating with teachers and families and parents and caregivers and speech therapists. It's huge. It's a big part of what we do. Unfortunately, it's not always the easiest, right? It's like, I understand what it would be like for, to show up, first of all, probably potentially unannounced and be like, oh, hey, I'm here to observe you today.
Yeah.
Right. It's like when somebody says your full name, it's like you're going to the principal's office. Okay, what did I do wrong? What are you here to,
Correct.
tell me I can't do? And we try very hard, especially going into anybody else's setting. We're not here to judge you. We're here to.
What do you need from me?
We're here to be on the same team. Because, whether it's for the whole classroom or that specific individual, or even for you guys, like you just might be like, hey, I need help. And, that's great. One thing I learned a long time ago working with kids is you cannot do it by yourself.
Preach.
And that's the best way to do it is to work as a team. And we don't necessarily always have to see eye to eye. We don't even see eye to eye sometimes with programs that, we have for, clients at the clinic. But we both know that with us, at least it's our main goal is to give this kid the best life. And,
Right.
Most people that, interact with these kids, that's what, these speech pathologists, the teachers, and sometimes paras, anyone in the classroom, anyone in, their speech or any of their other therapies, that's what they're there to do. And sometimes, sitting with these parents, the hardest thing is like just seeing how much they struggle to, one, understand what's going on, and two, to them, why is it not normal?
Right.
One of the things I've said for a long time is there's no such thing as normal. This world that you talked about, like, oh, you're supposed to this, ain't nothing normal about it.
No.
Right.
And we're all in therapy now trying to undo all
Right. Yes. We're all dysfunctional.
Yeah, absolutely.
In some way, some of us just hide it better.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's like, how do we work together? Like, I know I come into that. Hi, I'm, from the district to observe, and like, what do you need from me? Is usually my first question, is because I'm not here to question. I'm not here to judge. This is not necessarily how I would do things, but I say it all the time. I got my SPED teaching credential. I couldn't do it. That's why I do what I do. More power to you guys. And I mean that, and so trying to like lessen that and take people off the defense. Cause we're all, I'm here to help you. I've ran small groups before. I'm here to observe a kid over there. It's like, okay, you need that. You're missing a para today. Let me jump in. And, I can observe that kid while I'm sitting here, helping. And sometimes, it's like, okay, now we can be friends. Now we're on the same level.
I've helped you. Are you okay with me being in your room now?
Yeah. And Well, we call it pairing. There's
Right.
there's a strategy in ABA called pairing, and we could go into the technical, but like in a applicable setting, it's pairing yourself with reinforcement. Hey, I'm here to help you. So
Right.
when you see me, you're like, oh, that's the one who will step in, and and we do that with adults too. For kids, it's like, that's the one that gives me the high fives. That's the one that will give me Avengers stickers, right? But we have to do it with adults too. It's, hey, that's the one who will answer my questions. That's the one who will jump in, right? And
Mhm.
that's part of my role, our role as a collaborator, as a provider, consulting, especially going into classrooms and especially going into homes, right? Like, that's your domain. I am just here to figure out how can I make your life easier, So yeah, go team.
Well, David and Rebecca, I think it's about time for us to wrap this up. But let me say, so oftentimes you'll hear people talk in different fields, and they'll say all the right things and all the right words. But everything that David and Rebecca have shared with us, like, we've seen it and
we've seen them in
experienced it
action.
firsthand. We've heard both of them say, "Hey, we're here to help you. How can we help?" And then we've seen them actually there and help. So
Yes.
so not just all talk, but thank you so much for, number one, what you guys do. And we get all excited every time we see you guys come to the building, because we know that you're there. Like I said, you're there to serve these kids,
yeah.
to love these kids, and to help them be everything that they can be, regardless of what happens outside of the building. Like, it really is about them. And also, thank you for hanging out with us and doing this podcast. Maybe we'll do it again sometime. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
We
Sounds
could
good.
talk about what we do all day.
That's what I was getting ready to say. They're like us. We can talk about our jobs, and y'all can talk about your jobs. I'm sure. And we do the same. We do the same thing. We come home and say, okay, so let's go sit out back, and maybe we'll talk about what are we doing this weekend. Well, hey, do you know what happened today? And yeah, so
Well, usually it goes more like this. Man, I'm so tired. Yeah, me too. Let's get home and we just relax. About the time my rear end hits the seat, we're talking about work. So,
Yep, that's about right.
but again,
Yeah.
thank you guys, and we'll talk to you some other time.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Sure enough.